hopefully he can join by end of this meeting. All right. So today agenda, these are the things we're going to cover. What is Git? Why we choose the Git? And what is Git branching? And what are the advantage? And finally is demo. These are the things we're going to cover in next 45 to 1 hour. I hope it's enough to cover everything. So let's start with the fundamental, like what is Git? I'm pretty sure you guys all familiar with that. At least you hear about the what Git. Pretty much all the companies are using at the moment is Git, and all the development teams are using Git for the version control. Git is nothing. It is a distributed version control system to track all the changes in the source code, right? It is designed to coordinate the work among the developers, QA engineers, operations team. It can track all the changes in the file. So nowadays, not only development team is working on the code. Pretty much all the team, QA engineers are working on the code, on the automating their tests. Operations team, they're using to be produced the ARM template or infrastructure as a code. They're using the Git. So pretty much in software development lifecycle, pretty much everywhere we're using the source code to be pretty much everything we're moving into the code. So it's important to have some sort of version control to track everything. And the Git is one of the popular one. And one of the main reason it's popular, it's a distributed version control. I'm going to have another diagram. I'll show you what is the mean of the distributed version control. So end of the slide, you could see that what is that the meaning of the distributed version control. The one of the big advantage of the Git, it has a branching capable, and but the centralized version control, it does not have that kind of capable. That is the reason Git has become a very popular and everywhere we're using it. This is what we name distributed version control. Let's go through the one by one. You will start understanding what is distributed version control and how the Git is operating it. Before I jump into this one, Git, it's kind of core. On top of the UI layer, there are a bunch of vendors are available to build it on top of the UI layer. One of the popular one is a GitHub. Just like that, Azure Repo and Proforce, Bitbucket. All of them are, it's a core is a Git. On top of that, they're building the layer to easy to use the UI for top of the Git. So end of the day, the command and everything will be same. Concept is same, but the different UI. And obviously, the little bit of here and there changes on top of that, the Git. But end of the day, if you understand the Git concept, pretty much regardless of the tool, Bitbucket or GitHub or Azure Repo, everything will be same. Even the naming will be almost the same. I mean, I don't see any of the tool using the different. Right? So before we jump into the Git, it's a fairly important to understand the concept of the Git and the name. So in here, you could see in the diagram, it's a very important to understand this diagram before we jump into the demo. The first, oops, let me go back. You need to understand remote repository and the local repository. Remote repository means the changes are published on the cloud or it's not on your local computer. Local repository means that lives on your computer. That's what it's called, local repository. So that's what the difference between the remote repository and the local repository. Right? Then once we clone the stuff, okay, in order to get the remote repository and the local, you have to use the command called clone. There are many different ways like that. You could see the clone, how it's coming from. So once you clone the remote repository and local repository, the code, it's available in the cloud, it'll come into the local. The next step, you get that particular repo and you started developing on your own, right? You have to add the more additional code on top of that what you have. Or even if it's a brand new repo, you're going to be start adding the file, source code file into the particular repo.
Hey, sir, I am confused here. Like, uh, suppose I'm a developer, right? I'm working on my local repository. Like, how do it's like how it relate to the remote repository and how it gonna clone? I mean, could you please explain more about that?
I think you may need to hold off this question until this is finished. I think you will you will get a better understanding. So now we just be cloning from the remote repository local using the clone. And also I'm going to be show end of this particular the slide, I'm going to show the demo, then you will see the better understanding. Once you have on the local repository, the next step, you start adding the file. When you adding the file, that's going to be the working copy, and literally you everything you adding working copy, right? It doesn't mean the working copy it's going to be pushed over to remote. That's what the new step, it's called staging area, and we call the commit. Once you have the remote repo and local repo, when you add the file, it lives on the working copy, and the once working copy is good to go, you're going to be committing the changes. That's on the staging area. That's called commit. Then ultimately, you're going to be pushed over to remote repo. Before we push, literally, like once you committed, the changes will come into local repository, and the push will be pushed over to remote repository. So these are the important commands. Clone, then add the file, you need to put the git add, then git commit, then git push. So far so good? The three commands.
See the command, you have it on the other screen.
This is for the command, like an important command. First step, you need to clone the git repo. And the second step, I just put the branch. The reason by default is come with the default branch, and it's not a good practice to push on the remote, default branch. That's the reason always create the new branch. So we putting some additional step but it's not that mandatory. Right? Depends on if it depends on your organization policies, you may not able to push it the default, but it's not that true important. But it's a best practice to create the branch. Then you add the file, git add file. So this command going to be vary. If you have the only single file, you can put git add and you can mention the file. If you have a, let's say 50 file you need to add, you cannot add one by one. So you can put a small space and you can put dot. In a way you can commit into the staging. So this is what the staging area, what I'm talking about. Then the next step, it's a commit, and you have to dash m and you have to put some message, then push into the origin. The origin in this case is the branch name. So whatever the branch name you want to push it over, you have to put it in. Right now, my branch name is TO123, and that's what you see. Likewise, if you want to remove the file, the command will be different. Everything, it's going to be git. Oh, sorry. Sorry, guys. It's going to be git rm, and let's put the file name, and you can remove it. The frequent command, the git clone is not the frequent command. It is only happen first time when you clone the repo. Then afterward, you don't really use the git clone command frequently. Git branch command, always, whenever you develop the new feature or new test, you create the new branch. So that it's not that frequent, but it is more frequent than clone command. Clone command, it is not frequent at all. It's once in a blue moon. But the branch one, it is frequent, but it's not that frequent. Add command, git add space, like add or remove, those kind of stuff are very frequent. The add, commit, and push, those are the things that are very frequent commands. So far, so good.
Yep.
Right. Important step to check in your code. First, you need to create the branch. That's the best practice. I'm kind of putting all the wordings, what I mentioned earlier. Create a branch. This is the day-to-day checklist, right? You are developing your test automation stuff or whatever the code. Like for Git perspective, it doesn't care it's a test or development code, or it doesn't care anything. It can track anything. All sort of file can track. So step number one, you need to create the branch. Step number two, you need to add the file or remove the file, whatever the. Step number three, you need to push the changes. Then when you're pushing it, you're pushing into the remote branch. You're not pushing in the default branch. So the next step, you need to create the pull request. The pull request means we are creating the difference between the default branch, in this case, master branch, and your remote branch is going to be, let's say, TO123. So now you create the pull request to compare the default branch versus your branch and see what are the changes. And if the changes, it's reviewed by your peer and all good to go, you merge your code into the default branch. This is a way you're eliminating all the problem in your remote branch itself, and you don't want to be put the broken code into that. That's the thought process behind the pull request. I will show you everything in the demo, and you have the better understanding. And even it is the best practice to start practicing it, creating the pull request to merge into the default branch. So the Git branching, the pull request is coming with the play of the Git branching, right? It is depends. The big Git branching, it's nothing. The Git branching, it is actually when you develop the new stuff, you branching off from your main branch, and you create the different branch which is equivalent. When you create the new branch from any specific branch, it is going to be everything from the default branch, and you copy it over to the branch what you created, and you push this stuff. I think somebody need to go on the mute. I don't know. I get some static voice. So the
I think
Git branch.
only Sumit was unmute, was not mute. Everybody else is.
Is Smith? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I think I hear some static voice, so I'm just wondering who's. Okay, the Git branch, it is kind of equal to development. Depends on the branch. If you're creating the new branch off of the default branch, it is copy everything what's on the default branch and come into your branch. If you create the new branch off of some specific branch, it's copy everything what's on the specific branch over to your branch. That's what the Git branch creation process works. In terms of the branching, this is kind of the next level. Depends on the team and depends on how you mature. Different branching strategy will be there, right? It's not necessary every time we need to be follow like one similar Git flow or matured branching policies. Right now I'm talking about that application development perspective, right? Some of the teams are very mature and some of the teams are not mature. What I meant by mature, some teams, when you think about the application development, some team is completely automated the test. Everything is automated. There's no human intervention, right? Everything is automated. During the time, Git branching played a huge role. And also, you don't need additional extra handoff and step, because when the developer check in the code into the remote branch, which is the TO123, and when they create the pull request, automatically trigger all the various testing. It could be regression testing, it could be Sona Cloud source code analysis, it could be integration testing. Everything is automated, and the feedback will be provided back to pull request. It's good to go or not good to go. If it is good to go, one single push button to merge into that default branch, and ultimately it's taken into that production. Right? It's kind of release train. But if you do not have everything is automated, then you have to do manually. So during the time, you need to have additional branching, right? Let's say default branch, then you need to have a release branch, and probably you need to have two different, right? Development as a one stream of development branch as a default, and you maybe have a production branch to keep all the production changes, and you need to branch off from hotfix and something like that. So all I'm saying it for this particular team perspective, depends on the team maturity perspective, Git branching will be vary. It's not the set on the stone. It's depends on the comfortable of the team and how are they going to do it. That's what we'll do. So this is something very very simple, and this looks like a very mature process. Look into this. You have a different environment: test, dev test, staging, and production. But it's lives on the single branch. Pretty much development happening. They create the new feature branch off of the master, and they're developing, create the pull request, merge it, right? And once they merge it, what's happening, it's automatically triggered all the tests happen, and the pipeline will move over to the test. Then the pipeline, like in this case, in this case, the pull request, it's finding all the issues on the development side. Then pipeline will take care of the rest of the gates, quality gates, and everything is good to go. ultimately push over to production, right? In terms of application development. But not necessary, we can apply the similar model to all the team, right? Probably Facebook and Netflix, those mature teams, they may start adapting something similar. The orchestration, like a CI/CD orchestration tool, take care of everything of moving into the various quality gate and ultimately deploying to production. Even after the production, and the monitoring will be start playing the role, and the pen test and the monitoring. And if anything goes wrong, pipeline will automatically roll back to the previous version of the application code. So everything underlying the things is branching, and also it's a pipeline that will make sure it is orchestrated, right? For this team perspective, all I'm saying is branching is fairly important to understand if you go into matured level. And at the moment, I don't believe you guys need to worry too much in terms of the branching, but at least you can think of on the back of the head. It is the Git and the branching is the key for the DevOps, as well as that adapting like a deployment process and everything.
Hey, Scene, I have a question. Why we have 2 branches in the last slide? It's like 2 people are working on that, or it's like my code and I'm working on 2 different codes and then merging it?
It's the 2 different code, 2 different features. Feature A, 1, feature B is 2, and it's the 2 different developers. And each developer, they're going to have their own branch. They are not going to share the same feature branch. Example, let's say feature A going to be developed by 2 different people, right? Again, as I mentioned to you, it depends on your team. Sometimes it needs to be customized, right? And there is always recommendation. My recommendation, everyone need to have their own branch to do the development. Sometimes, say example, if you have a feature A and one person almost completed or they developed a lot of stuff, and if you want to be helping him to do the thing, you may need to branch off from that particular feature branch to create the new branch, and you may ultimately merge back to the development. Right? The idea behind this whole thing, they're going to be frequent merges. There's no like a keep the remote branch for so long before get merged. Idea behind that, every day you may need to merge your feature branch, the default branch, at least a couple of times in a day. So pretty much you just create the branch on the fly, do the stuff, merge back to the master, right? In a way, you don't need to worry too much to long living branch on your local machine and outdated the branches, and it's become a problem in future if you create the branch and you didn't merge the branch and you didn't get the update from the default branch for so long. That could be merge conflict and everything. So literally branch you create, develop quickly, merge back to the master. So pretty much your feature branch is pretty updated with the default branch.
Okay.
Right? What are the advantages of the branching? Code transparency in between dev, QA, and operations, right? If you don't use the versioning and pull request, there is no transparent. And that other part, you cannot enable the CI/CD. If you keep all the version, code in your local, CI/CD is totally impossible. And through the pull request, the code will be very transparent. Let's say person A, developer A developing some stuff, and you create the pull request. So it's allow everybody to review it and provide their opinions. CI/CD is not. Can you repeat again?
What is CI and CD stands for?
Continuous integration and continuous delivery.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't know that. Yeah.
No, CI/CD.
Excuse me, guys. Hital here. If this kind of minor question, I would prefer to put in a chat so somebody else know they can answer your questions rather interrupting. I'm not saying interrupting, but if it's just minor thing, we can help you here also, and we can save our time for main content, please.
All right. So next, I think the important thing in terms of the branching, finding the bugs in early stage and isolating it. What does that mean? Developer A developing the code in the feature branch, and he creating the pull request. During the process, there are many things going to happen behind the scene. Number one, the moment they create the pull request, CI will be start kicks in automatically, which is the pipeline. The pipeline, it's run through the new code and see is all the existing tests are passed. Existing tests mean it could be unit tests, integrate. I mean the whatever the applicable test, it's running and is it passed, and is it breaking any code quality badly, and is it breaking down the code like a vulnerability or anything, right? And if anything problem, it's immediately the pull request merge button. Like a merge button won't be enabled if the CI results come back with that fail. So we are isolating the problem early in the stage and even feature branch. In that case, that's a problem to the whoever developed, and they need to be fixing it. If you don't have this kind of setup, what's going to happen? Developer push directly into the master branch, and then it's that particular problem. It's available to everybody pretty much, right? Assume that particular feature is not tested for the week. During the 1 week time, everybody going to merge into the master branch, and the problem become a team problem. And when they identify the problem, it's going to be very difficult to fix it. And also we need to trace back where it's the broken. So it's not that effective process. In this case, and also it's going to be delay the release process. And the continuous delivery is almost impossible if you have this kind of process. In this case, we're really isolating the problems into the feature branch. And if the pull request, I mean, if you cannot merge it, really it's a problem to one specific person, and lead architects can able to help them to resolve the things. In a way, it's not breaking down the continuous deployment process as well as the team throughput, and allow the other developed code we move forward with the production. So if you think about the release train, if the one of the candidate has a problem, we're going to be drop that particular candidate, and rest of the candidate jump in the train and move into the production. That's the whole idea behind this. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Enable the consistent release process. Since issues are identified within a feature branch, QA pass feature branch and move forward release candidate. So now Q&A. I'm going to demo it the next time. Anybody have any question on the content perspective before I jump into the demo? All right. So
Sen, this is Kader. I am back.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, in our apologies, guys. In our area, the internet just went down. Not only for us, for the whole locality. Sorry about that interruption. So, Sen, question for you. Have you also prepared engaging exercise for the team that they can work on some exercise over this week and come back for our next week beginners track?
Yeah. So I mean, end of the demo, they can practice their own thing, and they get familiar what I'm doing. So all I'm doing this demo, they can do their own, and they get familiar with when they come back.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. All right. So I was requesting to install the GitHub desktop. So one thing I want to make sure, there are many ways you can add the code into the GitHub remote repository. You can use the terminal, you can use the command line, you can use some UI tools, whatever it's comfortable, right? If you are like a by provision developer, they really like the terminals or command line. They don't really like the UI. That's the honest thing, right? They hate the UI. I mean, there are many reasons developers doesn't like the UI. Because sometimes UI buggy, and they're working on the code. So probably I'm not too sure the audience how many developers versus so probably first I'm going to show into the UI. It's the easiest way to do that. Then maybe I'll show the terminal because I'm not using Windows, so I can't really show on the command line, but I can show the terminal. It's exactly same. The command is exactly same. It's just a different the UIs. That's pretty much. Step number one, what are we going to do? We talk about the remote repo, as well as we talk about the local repo, and we talk about the stages, working copy, staging area, local repo, and the remote repo. We talk about the different concepts. Step number one, GitHub, it's a free for the public repos. So you can create the n number of public repos much as you want to, right? So here you can sign up. Step number 1, you need to sign up. Once you sign up, you could see the whatever the name, it'll show up. And if you're part of any other organization, you can have that organization too. In this case, your practice perspective, first you signed up, and it's allow you to create the public repo. It doesn't allow you to create the private repo, but it's allow you to create the public repo. That is, which is fine as well, right? So you could see that like this is my one, and there are a bunch of repos I belongs to. And step number 1, you need to create the Git repo, right? So you have the new button here. You can click on the repo, and you can type whatever you want to, right? It is the Git repo name. So I'm going to use demo-1. That's what my Git repo name, and the owner, it's the S Anandan, because it's my personal, and I'm creating the public one, right? Yeah, we can create the public too. Oh, private too. I didn't know that. Anyway, and here you could click on the initiate the README, so it will put some file. And also, if it is any open source, you can pick the license, but that's not mandatory. But there is an option, and you can ignore the sum of the file when you check in. Again, you can choose none for both of those. And if you have any add-on, you can see that too, but you can completely ignore those. If you don't have any add-ons on your thing, you really see that, right? You can completely ignore those. Just need to type the demo-1. That's pretty much. And I just realized that you can create the public private too, so you can create the private as well.
Since I want to interrupt you for 1 minute, okay? And private repo in GitHub is free now, so that you can create unlimited ones. I really want you guys to focus on the security aspects of the using a private and public repo. When you use a public repo, everybody from the internet can see it. The reason I'm saying is if you're working for an enterprise and then by mistake you try and copy the code in the public repo, the entire world can see it.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't, And more recent hacks in enterprises happened because a developer, mostly newbies, copied the enterprise code and put in the public repo. All of a sudden, the entire code was made available to the entire world. So that's why Microsoft is basically giving private GitHub repo for free. Always go with the private, even if it's your own code, go with the private repo. And public repo, unless until you're doing open source projects, you copy it. And never ever copy any of a company code into your own personal GitHub repo. So 99% of all the hacks is happened because the developer put his code, company code into the public repo, and all of us, everybody sees the one. So I just want to interrupt there. I think that's why we made private free.
Krishna, you make a good point. I'm going to give you some story behind that, which is important, because now you're getting into the version control. I'm echoing the Krishna's point. If you're working on one of the company and you have any source code, don't ever put it in the public. If you've done it, and if they find it or if anything hacks them, you maybe get fired right away. And that's happening many of the places. Extremely careful what you're handling it, especially when you flipping around with the organization and the public and something like that. Extremely get up cautious. And nowadays, pretty much all the companies code being put under the private. I don't like any of the companies putting the code in the public. Very, very restricted. And because of Krishna's stated reason, hacks are happening through the public, and there is a scanning continuously happening. If whatever the organization you belongs to, I'm pretty sure your security team continuously scanning what's the code has been in the public. So very careful, guys. Don't get into hook and you don't get hurt yourself. There was no excuse or sorry. Immediate fire. It's happened to a couple of known people. I'm not scaring you guys, because sometimes you know what you're doing it, and it's scary. Even when I initially check it, I don't see the private, but the Krishna, now I see the private option. So this is what a lot of confusion and people using public, and they just miss pushing different things. And it depends on your company. They have some legal perspective on their, when you sign the contract, you may sign it, then they refer it, and I don't want to happen the bad things, right? So Krishna, it's a good call out.
It's they will fire people. I've seen people have been fired because all they did was, because they want to work the code from home, they copied the code and put in a public repo. And immediately when you put in public repo, what we can actually do is it will send a notification to the GitHub administrator in the company. Hey, say it will say somebody has hosted a code on this on the public repo. It looks like yours, because at the end of the day, GitHub is a massive database. Okay, we can always compare and send a notification. So we're not scaring you. This is, go to Google and look for public GitHub repo hacks. It's a very serious thing. We want to stress it out. Always go with private. Even if don't store your code in Dropbox or any other place, it's very serious issue.
One more point here. Public is only used for if you are planning a project open source kind of, where you need other people's inputs on your project, then it's good for public. But if you are working for a company, then it's definitely, as per Krishna and Sen discussed, we are not allowed to put in public.
Hey, this is Kader jumping in. Time check. We have 9 minutes to go. So, Sen, do you think your demo will finish in 9 minutes, or do you want it to keep the demo reserved for the next session? We don't want to cut it off in half.
We'll see how. I think 9 minutes on the high level is good. At least people can practice it, right?
Okay.
So
just want to make sure, as a coordinator, I just want to make sure. Okay, go ahead, please.
So create repository. I'm using the private. So now you create the Git repo under your profile, you create it. And by default, the default branch is master. So this is everything on that public, not public in the sense remote repository, sorry. Remote repository, I'm confused with the public and private remote. Now you need to clone the code in your local environment, do add the extra source code. For that, you may need to use the tool or command line. There are multiple ways you can do it. I'm going to be focused on the UI, so it's going to be easy and you can pull the code. So step number 1, as I initially mentioned, you need to clone it, right? So if you want to clone it, there is a green button over here. You can click on it, you can copy it, come to here, and here you need to add that the clone repository. So you have an option. You can click on add and you can clone that repository. And here I'm using that URL because it's not the enterprise server. It is the github.com, but I do have a URL, so I just copy. And here it's a local path. So I mean, personally myself, I dump everything under the GitHub folder. I'm going to be clone this one is fine. It is totally up to you where you want to put it in, right? So that's it. Click on the clone. It's going to be cloning it. So soon after you clone, you could see that demo 1, it's available. And you can double check. You could have the demo 1. This is my folder. You could see that demo 1 is here and with the README file, right? Step number 2, I need to add the more file, right? So I'm going to copy the one of the file, very simple program. So you can use the VS Code. It's a really good one. So I'm going to copy this because I need some source code to test it out, right? Demo, I'm going to paste it here. You can open up into the whatever the visual code, anything, right? It's a very simple addition, right? In terms of the Git perspective, it doesn't care what type of programming language, what you're using it. So literally, I add that new file and come back to here. See, is it get tracked? You could see that the file got tracked. Now I need to be pushed into that particular remote. For that, it's important, as I mentioned to you earlier, you need to create your own branch before you need to push it in, right? So I want to create the new branch. I'm going to be name it as demo branch, demo 1, 2, 3. Create the new branch. I'm going to be switch it because right now it's a defaulted branch is a master. So I really want to switch over to that, bring to the demo 1, 2, 3 branch. So switch the branch. So I am switch the branch. Next step, I need to be commit the changes. Then I can push it. So I need to add some message to be pushed over to that, right? Added file, right? And commit the demo 1, 2, 3. Once you commit it, you publish the branch, which means you're pushing it. It's pushing it. So right now, what I done, I create the source file, create the new branch, I push the changes to new branch, and I commit the changes and push over to the new branch. Now I come back to here and see what I push. It's available on the new branch, right? By default, it's showing a default branch. You could check and see, do you have that the new branch is available, which I created, demo 123. See, you could see that with the new file, what I pushed over here, you could see that. The final step, before you, ideally, we need to merge everything from your local branch over to the demo. So you need to create the pull request. So you can choose this button to create the pull request, or it's automatically smart enough to understand there is a comparison available. You can do that, right? So you can click on this one too. So ideal, we need to merge into the master from demo 123, and this any message you can put it in, create the pull request. In this pull request, right now we don't have any checks. Let's assume you have many checks like a Sona Cloud or QA automation, or depends on with Azure pipeline. All the checks will be available on the here, and if there's a tick, only the merge button enabled, right? If you since you don't have anything, we just simply review it, and everything is good to go. You can merge it. So you can add the more restriction to disable this merge button. In a way, you are not freely merge into the master branch without going through the process, right? And also you can assign to anybody for the manual review. If you have a multiple people working on it, you can do that. But since it's mine, you cannot do that. But if you are working on organization, you can assign to anybody, and it's a private. And merge the pull request, Hotmail, merge it, done, and go back to here, and you could see that master branch, the new file has been successfully added with the 3 minutes. And click on here, you can see the series of commits are happening, and you could see the shards. That's pretty much for today. So maybe you guys can take this away, and what's your practicing thing? Sign up first and create the private repo, and clone the private repo on your computer, adding the file, create the new branch, and the new branch, you can push that all the file that you added to the your local repository and push over to branch, create the pull request, merge into the default branch. That's what you need to practice in next couple of days. Then when you're familiar with that, I think it's pretty good. Then we can go into the depth of this. Is the fundamental of the things. Obviously, it's a straightforward. But if it has become a lot of people and there's a lot of codes involvement, merge configs are there. I don't want to scare you guys. Merge configs are a little bit of difficult. Depends on your experience level. Sometimes we need to have advanced knowledge of the Git to solve that. But I think this geo and the AI tracking perspective, this is more than enough for you guys to keep your code into the GitHub.
Thank you, Sen. Thank you, Sen. Just a couple of things, couple of quick questions for you, Sen, on the context of this training. So we have created one testoper organization in the GitHub, okay? And ideally, I would prefer to have our team create the repositories there and do all these test program codes and everything in that place, right? Is this something that's possible to do or not?
Yes, Kader. I think I'm going to start the Python, basic Python, with branching for individual attendee, and I will allow them to clone my repository and try to make their own projects and try to push back and merge to my main branch. So that's where they can practice the programming at the same time Git too.
Awesome. And do you have the credentials? Yeah, go ahead, Sen.
The bigger question, so do you create as an organization, right? How many license available to give access? Otherwise, you may end up with going to the public.
That's a good question. That I didn't.
That's why I asked, because I don't want it to purchase the plan, right? So it basically means maybe our team have to create public repository for their practice, which is okay, right?
I think so.
Which is okay, right?
This is what I suggest. Our team can create the public repo, and then other team members can clone it. There is definitely after a certain threshold, you have to start paying for that GitHub. It's not expensive, but you still have to pay for it.
Even for the public repository?
Public is free.
Free.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Why don't, so Hetal, I'll do one thing. In the WhatsApp, I'll give you the credentials of Testoper GitHub that I created, right?
Okay.
Try to use that. It's for multiple reasons, right? So one is it would, kind of enhances from the marketing and from the service point of view, brings everything into one single place. It's got many different advantages, okay?
Carla, you don't need to give the credential. You can add her into the organization if possible.
Yes. Yeah, that could be fine.
Not, I mean, you need to. What you have to do, you need to add the Hetal. Give your Git a username, so Carla can add into organization.
Sure.
And then make you as a owner. So let's do this. Hetal and Sen, why don't you stay back, after this call, and let's close on that right away. Okay?
And there is unlimited private repo. You can create any number of private repo, no problems at all. There's no limit on the private repo you can create.
Okay.
For the organization?
Yep. You can create an unlimited private repo. I just checked it.
Private.
Krishna, you are right. But only a bigger question: how many users have that particular organization? That's a big question. Private and public, limited. Yes, that's right.
Okay. And
I think which is okay because we are non-profit and we are, this program is public for everyone, so we can create public repository. I don't think it's an issue. Right. So let's talk about it. That's the first question I had. And the second question.
Let's take this offline.
Yeah. And the second question that I have is from the logistics point of view. I know that when the session was ongoing, there were some questions asked by the people. Of course, Hetal kind of mentioned to type it in the chat window. I would suggest that, best to your knowledge, if you believe that if the question is simple, type it in chat window. Otherwise, please interrupt and ask question. I would like really this to be not like a webinar, but like a interactive session, please, right? So
yes.
Okay,
yeah, I mean to say just if it's a small, minor thing, we can help. If it's seriously about some concept level, yes, we would like to discuss.
I think this is what I suggest to be. I've been in a lot of these large meetings. What it is, I like Hetal's input where somebody could monitor the question answer session, and then we can allocate some time in the very end, 15 minutes of questioning, because when a person is doing a lot of discussion, all of a sudden just breaks the thought. It's hard to catch up. It's better to put on the context. They can review it. I think that's what I would recommend.
Yeah.
And so
I
just
agree.
a thought.
Which is good. I agree with you. But what I don't want is that, for example, I have a doubt and I need to clear that. But if I don't clear the doubt, then whatever after Sen is going to teach is not going to be helpful for me because the foundation doubt itself is not clear to me.
No, that's why I said if something conceptual, definitely you can interrupt the presentations. But if it's just full form, I'm just not pointing anything, but if it's just a kind of simple thing, you can type. If we definitely like to discuss about that, we will bring it and stop the presentation and we will discuss about that openly.
Yeah, please make it more interactive. That's the key message I wanted to give. And the third thing is from the logistics point of view, we are working on to see if we can create a Testoper public Teams channel in the Teams, right? So most probably we will introduce that in our next session, most probably on Wednesday. Then what we can do is, instead of Slack, we can concentrate all the questions in the Teams itself. So we can migrate, at least to start with, the Codeathon related Q&A and discussions into the Teams. Okay, we'll keep you posted on that. Any other comments or anything before I make a closing statement today? Any questions or anything?
Just a tidbit, for the team, right? So the Git is invented by the inventor of Linux as well. His name is Linus Torvalds. So basically, he invented two of the most successful open source project in the world. One is Linux and Git. I got some tidbits in it. That's a key thing to know because the whole source of Git is open source. So just want to share that. A lot of people didn't know that. So yeah, you're posting notes, Kadir. Yeah.
Information, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's quickly go through some of the questions that is here, right? Did you cover all the questions sent here?
No, not really, not really. So
okay.
the one of the things, it won't delete automatically. Who's that? Pankaj. So one of the question, after merge the remote branch into the default branch, or one demo 123 into the master, what is going to happen? Ideally, you should delete the demo 123. It won't happen automatically, right? Let me share my screen. There's an option automatically show up if there's no dependency, and you can delete the branch. I already did. Let me close this. So ideally, if there's no dependency, you could see the delete option, and you should delete it. That's the best practice. But again, if you have any dependency, the delete button won't be available. Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Good. So I think Krishna has sent some additional stuffs in this, but if we disconnect this meeting, all the chat will go away, right? So it's better to kind of create as soon as possible some kind of channel to keep those chats.
The chat session will be there because when you go and see it, they can always see it. I think the next thing is once you have the channel, then the channel will be available for people to come and review the notes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So let's see if there is any other question. Earlier, you have created Codeathon attendee list to update contact information, so we can test to get update information there as test also, I believe. I don't know, what does it mean? Nagendra, can you explain?
What I'm referring is it was already a Codeathon project was there, repository was there, right? So earlier you remember you have created all the people and then contact information to update. So as an exercise, like what I'm saying is somebody can try to update that file with by creating a branch or pulling it and updating it and then trying to merge it. So that the contact.
We're going to do with our Python programs.
Yeah. So, but they can do it whichever way they want. Thank you for reminding me. I need to delete this for the privacy reasons. I will delete that, Nagendra. Right?
Okay.
So initially, I had to do that because I need to get the team together. Now the team is together. I need to remove that file. I'll do that. I will work with the Hetal towards the end of the session, and then we will get back to you with the details of Testoper repository and how to use them. And Hetal will continue to help you guys to use them in the process of She Training Python program. Then let me see. Shad is asking some questions. Jyoti and Shushi, can I get your full names if you are there?
I have only one name, Jyoti.
Okay. Shushi, I don't know.
Nice, Jyoti.
I know I have only one name.
Okay, so there was a question here from Sachin. Will this recorded session along with the presentation be shared with us? I think the recorded session will have the presentation. What we will do is we have a YouTube channel. We are going to post that in the YouTube channel. This is something, Sumit, you will be taking care of, creating the playlist and uploading these sessions into the YouTube and sending it to the team. Okay,
yep.
Sumit? All right, as we discussed. Yep. What happens, demo branch, you have covered that. Okay. Deleted automatically, you covered that, and Krishna has sent these things. Okay, awesome. So good. Apologies when I started this session, the whole street kind of shut down. Apologies for that. So a couple of things I really wanted to communicate. First of all, thanks to all the leaders who took charge to pull this together. Today is our first session, but still I do believe it's a good start. We have 30+ people joined. That it's happy to really. At least for us as an organizer, it's really happy to see what we wanted to give back is being utilized by the people like you, and you grow in your career and you become successful in your career. Whether it is in the company that you're working for, or you wanted to do entrepreneurship or whatever that you wanted to do, it gives us immense pleasure and happiness to see you guys succeed, and that's the only happiness that we get for that's the only pay that we get for all the hard work that we put together. Thanks a lot for the trainers as well as for attendees taking time. And I do believe what is important is please be consistent. We will be recording the attendance, and please be consistent. The reason that we wanted to record the attendance is that we are going to do a lot of good things out of this program, right? When we're going to talk about this program to different companies, we're going to tell them that we have serious individuals who are learning all these things. They have experts in our community, and ask them to, we're going to invite them to come over and look at you guys, probably if they have a recruitment needs. There's so many other things that we wanted to really explore out of this program to help you guys, and that can happen only if you are consistent in what we are doing, right? So that's my second key point. And the third one is, I really wanted to explain what Testoper is, but I got cut off, but I'm not going to explain that now. Just remember one single word. It is all about, we came together, like Krishna, all of us came together, and we really wanted to help you guys, and we are doing here. Take benefit of that. And also, please spread the word. Most of the time, the good thing happens only by spreading the word, right? So if you spread the word to your friends and colleagues or whatever, if they come and join and take benefit of this program, then again, I'll go back to my first point. It gives us immense pleasure to see what we wanted to do and help others is actually being utilized. So these are the 3 key points I wanted to share. Thanks a lot for joining. And we will make sure that next time we will keep the time intact, right? We will start sharp at 7 and end sharp at 8, because that punctuality is really important. And in case if you are not able to cover something, we will continue that in our next session. Having said that, 2 key note, thanks for joining, and please stay safe. Let's take this opportunity of being at home to learn more. So when all this COVID-19 is over, we really have a good opportunity in front of us and knowledge in front of us to explore in many different positive ways. Thank you for joining. Have a great evening, and talk to you all soon.
Bye, guys.
Good night. Yes, bye. Please remember Saturday training at 10:30. Bye-bye.
So we are making other